I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't looking for the truth. She was lying on the bathroom floor, pale and shaking, and I honestly thought she might be dying. That's why I picked up her phone. Let me be clear about something before you judge me. I didn't grab her phone to check messages. I didn't have that instinct anymore. We were past jealousy, past curiosity. We were in that quiet stage of marriage where you stop imagining disasters, because nothing ever seems dramatic enough to be dangerous, until it is. That evening had been ordinary. Not good, not bad, just muted. The TV was on, volume low. We weren't watching it, just letting it fill the space between us. We'd perfected that skill over the years, making noise instead of conversation. She sat on one end of the couch, legs tucked under her, scrolling. I sat on the other, half listening to something I'd already seen. At some point, she stood up. "I'm going to the bathroom," she said. I nodded without looking. That was the last normal moment of my marriage. At first, I didn't notice how long she was gone. Time moves differently when nothing feels urgent. But then I heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A dull, hollow thud. No scream, no words, just impact. I remember calling her name once, then louder, then standing up so fast my knee hit the table. I opened the bathroom door, and everything inside me dropped. She was on the floor. Her skin looked wrong, too pale, almost gray. Her eyes were open, but they weren't really seeing me. One hand twitched, like it was trying to remember how to work. I knelt beside her, and my brain started misfiring. This can't be real. She was just fine. People don't collapse like this. I reached for my phone. Dead. Of course it was dead. So I grabbed hers. The screen lit up instantly. Unlocked. And before I could even tap the emergency keypad, I saw the note. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't locked. It was just there. An open draft. The first line burned itself into my brain. "I've decided I'm leaving." I stopped breathing. Not metaphorically. Literally. I stood there with her phone in my hand, and my wife on the floor beside me, and my mind tried to process both realities at once. One of them was medical. The other was personal. Both felt life-threatening. I told myself I was misreading it, that it must be old, that it was about work, that it wasn't what it looked like. I scrolled, not because of someone else. My heart lurched, not because I stopped loving him. That hurt more than anger would have, but because I stopped existing here. My hand started shaking. I dropped the phone, then picked it up again. I don't know why I kept reading. I should have focused on her breathing. I should have focused on getting help. But something in me needed to understand how I'd arrived at this moment without realizing it was coming. I needed context, even if it destroyed me. I called the ambulance. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, calm, almost rehearsed. The operator told me what to do. I followed instructions mechanically, like my body knew how to function even if my heart didn't. By the time the paramedics arrived, she was conscious, weak, confused. She looked at me like she didn't understand why I was so pale. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. At the hospital, they ran tests: dehydration, exhaustion, stress. Stress. Such a small word for something that had apparently been eating my wife alive. They kept her overnight for observation. I sat alone in the waiting room with her phone in my pocket. I promised myself I wouldn't open the note again. I broke that promise almost immediately. We'd been married for 11 years. 11 years of shared routines, shared furniture, shared responsibilities. From the outside, we looked solid. We were the couple people didn't worry about. We didn't fight in public. We didn't post vague quotes online. We didn't threaten divorce during arguments. We were reasonable. I thought that was enough. The note was long, longer than I expected. It wasn't written all at once. I could tell. The tone shifted slightly from paragraph to paragraph, like someone growing braver with honesty over time. She wrote about shrinking, about how every time she compromised, it felt logical, temporary, harmless. How she told herself, later. Later we'll travel. Later I'll take risks. Later I'll say what I really feel. Later never came. She wrote about me, not cruelly. That somehow made it worse. She said I loved her consistency, that I praised her for being easy, that I liked how little chaos she brought into my life. I think you fell in love with how well I fit, she wrote, not with how much space I needed. I closed my eyes, because she was right. I remembered moments I'd dismissed, times she'd wanted more change, more movement, more uncertainty, and I gently talked her out of it. I called it practicality. I called it stability. I never called it fear. She woke up the next morning groggy and embarrassed. I scared you, she said quietly. I nodded. I didn't mention the note. I didn't know how. We went home, and for 3 days we pretended nothing had changed. We ate. We slept. We made small talk. But everything felt fragile, like one wrong word would shatter the illusion. On the 4th night, I asked her a question I should have asked years earlier. Are you happy? She didn't answer right away. She looked at the wall. Then she said, I don't know who I am anymore. That was the beginning of the end. And also, strangely, the first honest moment we'd had in a long time. We talked until morning. Real talk. Messy talk. Uncomfortable talk. She told me she'd been writing that note for months, that it wasn't meant to be sent, that it was the only place she could say the truth without being corrected. Every time she tried to explain her unhappiness, I fixed it. I reframed it. I minimized it. I reassured her out of listening. I didn't need solutions, she said. I needed permission to want more. That sentence broke something in me. I asked her if there was someone else. She shook her head. I didn't leave because of love, she said softly. I left because I was disappearing. There was no one to hate, no betrayal to focus on, just neglect, quiet, unintentional, devastating. She didn't leave right away. We tried. Counseling, space, rules, intentions. Some days felt hopeful. Others felt like delaying the inevitable. I started noticing how tired she looked when she stayed, how alive she seemed when she talked about possibilities without me in them. One night, weeks later, she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. I'm scared, she said. Of what? I asked. Of staying, she said, and never becoming myself again. That's when I knew. Loving her meant letting her go, even if it destroyed me. She moved out 2 months later. No yelling, no accusations, just boxes and silence. On her last night, she hugged me for a long time. I don't hate you, she whispered. Please don't hate yourself either. I didn't know how to respond. I still don't. People ask me what happened. I tell them we grew apart, that no one cheated, that nothing dramatic happened. What I don't tell them is this. The worst moment wasn't when she left. It was when I realized I'd been holding on so tightly that she couldn't breathe. Sometimes I think about that night on the bathroom floor, about how close I came to losing her forever. And I wonder, if she hadn't collapsed, if I hadn't seen that note, would I still be calling our quiet misery love? I didn't lose my wife to another man. I lost her to herself. And the hardest part is knowing that, in my own well-meaning way, I helped make that necessary.